Hey guys, I'm back. So we did get this figured out. First of all, I hope Eminem doesn't sue me for using that song, but I'm making a new hacker rule. If you use a song for less than 5 seconds, then it's not something they could sue me over. So telling you guys right now, you guys gotta back me up. So what are we looking at? I was able to get this thing figured out, and initially I thought it was going to be a reboot, right? So I'm trying to figure this out as you are, because as I mentioned earlier, this is a brand spanking new machine I'm doing this on. So it's cool though. You guys are probably thinking, I have no idea what I'm doing, and you're probably right. But the reason I'm doing it this way is because you're probably setting it up from scratch as well, and I want to make sure that the type of issues that you may run into, I run into them as well, and we work through them together. So initially I thought it was going to be a problem with just a reboot, which generally solves a lot of the stuff, right? But in this case, what we had learned was that the virtualized environment within the BIOS wasn't properly set up. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So back in the day, when you're using operating systems that are older than Windows 10, it was easy, right? You do a reboot, and when that happened, you just smash on that F2 button, and you're good to go. In Windows 10, though, they've actually made it a part of the operating system after boot up. So you're going to go to Settings, Update, and Security. You're going to go to Recovery, and you're going to go to Advanced Startup, and you're going to hit Restart Now. I'm not going to do that here, because if I do that, my recording will stop, and I'm going to have to do all this over, and I can't use Slim's song again. So what's going to happen is when you hit this button, it's going to bring you to another menu. And the next menu, you're going to hit Troubleshoot. The menu after that, you're going to hit Advanced Options. And then the one after that, you're going to hit UEFI, Firmware Settings. And that'll reboot, and when you get back online, it'll automatically go into the BIOS mode. So, all the BIOSes are different based on who the vendor is, but you're going to have to find out. There's going to be a setting in there called virtualized technology. By default, in most machines, that is going to be disabled. In my machine, under the Advanced tab, there was the third one down with virtualized technology. I simply changed it from disabled to enabled, and let's see if that'll do the job. I hope it does, otherwise it'll be pretty embarrassing. So again, 4 processors, root and tour, keep that in mind, and I'm just going to hit the play button up here. Let's see what happens. Yeah, look at that. It seems to be going through perfectly. There we go. So it's booting up. It is going to take a few seconds to go through the full boot up process. It's going to load up a bunch of things in the back end. When we start getting into the more complicated tools, like we're going to use Apache and SQL, I talked to you about that, right? I mean, that's pretty straightforward. I'm not too worried about those. But when we start using these other Linux distro tools, we need to make sure that we do the updates. You guys got to keep in mind that the image that you're going to be getting here from the download site is going to be a static image. So when we ever do get to that phase, I will let you know how to do the proper updates to the proper tools. So I'm just going to pause it here while this thing kind of works its way through, and I will see you when this is done. All right, so we're back. So this happened much quicker than it did on the test machine I was working on, so that's a good thing. So let's get us a little bit more room to work here. You can close this out. It's no big deal, because if you want to load and unload VMs, you can certainly do it from here as well. So remember what I said. The username is going to be root, ROOT, and the password is going to be TOOR. So what's going to happen while we're waiting for this thing to boot up is you see my mouse here, my cursor over here, right? But if I click it, it goes away. It goes into the virtual machine. So if that happens and you need to get out of the virtual machine to minimize it or whatever, you're going to hit Control and Alt at the same time, and that'll let you back out. Okay, guys, we're up and running, and here it is. So what's going to happen when you boot this thing up is it's going to show up in a small window, and you're not going to be using the full real estate of your VM environment. So what you have to do is go to View, Auto Size, make sure it's on Auto Fit Guest, and it should work. So now that we're in it, there's a lot of tools here, right? 600 plus tools, as we've mentioned previously. So over here, you've got Firefox, you've got your terminal, and you've got your folders. For the sake of setting everything up for your hacking environment, we're going to be using those three exclusively. As far as the tools go, we're not going to be using them here. We'll talk about the vulnerability. We'll talk at a high level how to exploit them, but for the most part, we're going to be getting through these at the next stage. So as you can see here, VMware is broken out into 14 different categories. You have everything from information gathering, where you can find things like Nmap and Maltego, right? So if you're not familiar with what Nmap is, it's basically a port scanning tool. So if you are running a port scanner on a web server, you can figure out what ports and services are open and which ones are closed, and then it's the open ones that you can look for vulnerabilities in. The next one here is vulnerability analysis. You've got tools like Nikto in here. I've used that one before. You've got web application analysis, and you're going to have to excuse this. This is running a little slow. Over here, you've got Peros and Web Scarab. So Peros is a proxy tool that'll help you figure out how is traffic going back and forth on a web server. Web Scarab, you listen to the two words, break them out, web and scarab. What do you think of? You think of a spider. And that's precisely what it is. It's a spidering web application that'll go and spider a web app to tell you what kind of pages there are, what kind of folders there may be. So it gives you more insight on what a website is configured as. The next one here is database assessment, and over here you've got SQL Map, SQL Ninja, right? This is for exploitation of database vulnerabilities. So I talked to you guys before about the exploitation of one of our company's websites, and I was able to steal tens of thousands of credit card numbers, and that was through SQL Map. So there's going to be two different SQL injection vulnerabilities you're going to be working on. You're going to have straight up SQL injection, which is pretty straightforward. You do it right through the web browser, or there's going to be blind SQL injection, and that's where you're going to be using something like SQL Map. And then you've got over here password attacks, and over here you've got things like John the Ripper, you've got Offcrack, you've got Rainbow Crack. These are all tools that you're going to use to do brute force cracking on a web application, given that it doesn't lock you out. You've got wireless attacks, and these are a lot of fun, right? You're not going to be, unfortunately, using them as a part of the exploits that you put out there, but you can certainly use them on your home Wi-Fi network. And these tools are going to allow you to basically fool the wireless network into letting you on. And how you're going to do that is you could do a brute force. You can take a user that's actually authenticated to the wireless network and kick them off. And then when they try to re-authenticate to get back on, which happens instantaneously and automatically, then you can capture that traffic. So you're going to be using Wireshark for something like that. And I think we'll see that later here. You've got reverse engineering tools. You've got exploitation tools, sniffing, and spoofing. So if I'm correct, Wireshark should show up here, and it does. So Wireshark is amazing. So I mean, you could build a 12-hour course on Wireshark alone. It gives you the ability to look at traffic that goes back and forth between the server, and you can test it for leakage of sensitive information. You could test it for hacking traffic that may be coming through your network. There was a time where I was sitting next to my brother on a couch and he was logging into a website. So when you log into a website or when you traverse through the internet anywhere, if it's not SSL enabled when the traffic is going back and forth, that data passes in clear text. So my brother's logging into this financial website. It was not using SSL. I was sitting right next to him. I had Wireshark open. We both were on the same wireless network. And as soon as he put his username and password in, I kind of tilted my computer over to him, and I was like, "Hey, by the way, is this your password?" And he was just like, "Oh my God, you're a magician." I was like, "Oh my God, no, I was just using Wireshark." So Wireshark is really, really cool. So um, you can use, well, I'm not going to say this officially, but I know people that have used it in coffee shops, airports, because everybody ends up on the same network, right? And then after that, there's traffic passing in the clear. It's a dangerous tool. Post exploitation. So this is the section where, okay, so you've gotten in there and you were able to exploit something. Now, how do you create a backdoor for yourself so that you can go back in and continue exploiting, or how do you hide your tracks? And these are the tools that are going to help you do that. Forensics investigation is another section, reporting tools, social engineering tools, and then system services. So system services, when you look at what we have Beef and Tratus. I mentioned to you that we're going to be using SQL Map and Apache. Neither of those are listed here for some reason, but I assure you that they are a part of the core um, VM or Kali Linux dump. So we'll be getting to that. So now I'm hoping that you are where I'm at. You have gotten your virtualized environment set up. You have gotten Kali Linux set up. You have taken a look at some of the tools that are available to you. Your machine's definitely going to run faster than mine because right now I've got the cheap machine to start with. I have the virtualized environment competing with the recording software. So there's a lot going on my machine, but you guys will be working hopefully a lot quicker than I am. So now we're going to leave it off here. And then the next demo video that you're going to see from me is we're going to be getting your first vulnerability tool, which is going to be damn vulnerable web application installing machine. And that's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be very much hands-on. We're going to be doing some Linux coding or Linux commands, and then I think you'll have fun. So I'll see you at the next video, okay? See you guys.